Is it going? And with that being said, you're all very welcome to this marketing forum. My name is Eileen, for those who haven't met me yet. I am the project manager and comms manager at Performing Arts Forum for just coming up on a year now. So this kind of event is very exciting to me. You're about to hear some really exciting stats from Post survey, say that 10 times fast. I think it's the largest pool that we've ever had, 15,000. So you'll be hearing from Katie and Ellie on that a bit later on. We will also be joined by Heather Maitland, who actually can't come live today, but she recorded a video for us, so you'll hear from her a little bit later on. And in terms of the chat, please utilize it if you have any questions, and we'll try and get to them at the very end. So without further ado, I'll pass you on to Katie.
Thank you, Eileen. And I am joined by my colleague Ellie from Indigo today. So I'm the CEO of Indigo. I've probably met most of you before. So hello, everyone. And Ellie is one of our research executives, and she's been doing a lot of the work on this survey. So she's going to be presenting some of the results today. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And before anybody asks, these slides will be available after the session. So if there's anything you missed as we're whizzing through and you don't want to watch the recording back, you can have the slides. We will also be producing a report which will have some more narrative in it. This has very much been done as quickly as we can to get the data into your hands as quickly as possible. So it's very top level at the moment. But there will be more kind of interpretation of it in the report, which we'll have out in February. So let me see if I can do the techie bit and share my screen. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Okay. Ellie, is that looking what it should look like?
Yes, perfect.
Good, excellent. So just to give you a bit of background on what it is that you're looking at here today. So 17 organisations take part in our audience experience survey, which basically is sent out to people who have been to a show, ideally the morning after or the day after they've been to it, but sometimes it's a few days later. But the idea is it's to capture their thoughts and feelings about a particular experience that they've just had at a venue. So we have 17 organisations sending that out. Some of them send it out automatically to everybody after the show. Some of them send it out manually, and it just goes to a representative sample of audiences across the year. But together, those 17 organisations have captured 15,000 audience responses, which, if we're then very strict and take out any incomplete responses, gets us a pool that we have analysed of 14,000 responses, which, as Eileen says, I think is possibly the biggest data set across Ireland that we've ever had for this kind of survey. And it basically looked at people, or it was sent to people who came to events between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2024. So the intention is to present a picture of audiences for that calendar year for 2024. Obviously, there's all the usual caveats about who completes surveys, that you only have the data for the booker, you don't have the data for the people that came with them. That there are certain types of people who are definitely more likely to fill in surveys than others. But it's our best attempt at trying to get a representative sample of your audiences across the year. So we had 17 organisations, 15 venues and 2 festivals. And special gold star goes to the 3 organisations who managed to capture, each of them managed to capture over 1,500 responses across the year. So they get the gold star, the Katie Rains Indigo gold star, and I'll buy you a Mars bar when I see you. So that's what you're looking at. And we look at the results through, hopefully you're now quite familiar with this model that we tend to use, the Total Insight model, which is the idea that you need to look at audience insight through these 4 different lenses. So profile, who these people are, their demographics, their behaviour, how are they behaving? And I don't mean are they being good or bad, I mean what are they coming to, how frequently are they coming, that sort of thing. The attitudes that they have about what they've seen, about you as an organisation, and then the impact that you as an organisation are having on them, either the artistic impact of actually coming to an event or the impact that your organisation is having in their lives more generally. So we're going to group the feedback that we've had through those lenses. Before I do that, though, I want to just explain to you how to use this data. So those 17 organisations that are taking part at the moment, you should use this data and look at it alongside your data. So this is the benchmark. This is the average for everybody across Ireland, okay? So if you look at, you should have a viewing link to look at your data, and you should have a link that allows you to look at that. I think the link shows you everything in 2024. So you are directly comparing your results with what is here in the benchmark. So we will also issue a report in February, as I said, so you can literally print it off and have it next to your results if you want to. Then what I would suggest you do is identify where there are key differences between your results and the benchmark, and then present these results. You can present this back to your board or your senior management team as the kind of, this is what's going on in Ireland. And you can also then say, or you can present your results and say, but actually we're lower or higher than the Irish benchmark here, here, and here. And you can start to discuss whether that's a good or a bad thing, whether there's anything you want to do about that. It's really just to give you that context. So I can't see my notes now, Ellie, so am I handing over to you for this? Thank you.
Yes.
Ellie will take us through the profile. So that's the first bit of the total audience model.
Yeah, hi everyone. So this first bit is profile. So who are those audiences and how representative are they of the population? Next slide, please, Katie.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Drinking me coffee and forgetting I'm doing the running of the slides.
So as we tend to see, arts audiences are not representative of the general population in terms of age, firstly. And we can see here that they are slightly older when comparing to that Ireland census data from 2022. So here we have 54% aged 55 and over, compared to 31% of that Ireland data. And we can see that a quarter of arts attenders have children under 16 living at home, so 25%. And this could mean greater potential and opportunities to reach more families with young children through your marketing and programming throughout the next year. So throughout 2024, 15% of attenders attended with their children. And we can look at that Ireland data, census data again here, which says 30% of family units have children under 15. So that's interesting to compare. So again, as we tend to see, arts audiences are mainly female, with 71% of audiences describing their gender this way.
Well, the bookers, we don't, I mean, yeah, these are the people
yes.
with the tickets. So it's not necessarily all the ticket, the attenders.
And then we've got 86 of respondents identifying as Irish from our data, compared to 77% of that Ireland data. So not quite representative in this area either. We do tend to see this level of diversity among UK audiences too. And just 6% of those bookers identified as disabled. With that prefer not to say option there, though, at 3%, we could say this is pretty much spot on with the census data at 8%. So that data is made up of respondents saying that they experience health conditions and or difficulties to a greater extent or a lot. So quite comparable. So here we look at income, and this is what your audience has said about their salary compared to the average. So our benchmark of UK audiences tend to skew higher income. So in comparison, this is pretty balanced out across the board here. And this is back to Katie.
So behaviour. So we've looked at profile. Don't think there's anything that surprises us hugely, but it's useful. That data is useful when you're kind of presenting to boards and things and making a case for why you need to try and start diversifying your audiences a bit more, for example. So how are they behaving? So in terms of relating to culture in general, this is about their motivations for attending that particular show. So again, not a great surprise that over half are saying it's to see the particular production that they've come to see or to see a particular performer or company. 12% I love the organisation, which is great, and 8% a treat for a special occasion. But what we've managed to do is we've pulled out two key groups that throughout this presentation that we suspect will have a little bit of a different take on it. So first of all, we're comparing first timers with all responses. So we can see here, for example, I think I've got, yes. So you can see here, this is something we see consistently, that first timers, a slightly higher proportion, are attending as a treat for a special occasion than the average for everybody. So it's worth, I think we've pulled that out before actually, it's worth bearing that in mind. By and large, they're following the patterns of everyone else. As you'd also expect, slightly fewer more say somebody brought me along because they're a new attender. The other group that we're particularly interested in is these people who have children at home, because obviously people who are juggling family pressures, perhaps their motivations or the barriers are going to be slightly different. And in this case, again, not a great surprise, but considerably more that have family at home, children at home, are saying that their motivation to attend was to spend time with friends and family. And they're even more likely to say as a treat for a special occasion. And those two things are probably linked. How do they hear about the events? So good to see that social media is really working. 31% of people saying they found out about that event through social media. A whopping 22%, so nearly a quarter, saying it was recommended by friends and family. So that word of mouth is really important. And of course, that might be through social media as well, if somebody's sharing it on social media. So there could be, again, a bit of crossover there. Emails are working okay. And again, this is where you need to compare your data with the benchmark. So where are you doing better or worse than the average across Ireland? Is your social media performing better? Are your emails performing better? Things like that. So this is worth having a look at. Again, we've had a look at it by first timers. So obviously first timers aren't going to be finding out as much by email or on a previous visit to the venue because they've not been before. So social media is working even harder for them. And even for people who have children at home, social media is where they're finding out about it even more so. It's worth saying that on these graphs where there's an other and it's scoring quite highly, like on this one, 15% of people with children at home saying, oh, it's none of those, it's something else. We haven't had time yet to dig into those responses, but we are going to, and we will put the key things, if there's key kind of themes coming out of that, we will spot them and we will put those in the report so that you will get some guidance on what those are. And if there's significant things that are clustering that lots of people are saying the same thing, we will add it in to the options for 2025 so that it's something we can actually quantify a bit better. Distance travelled, so over half the audience travelling under 10 kilometres. So I think we talked about this when we presented this partial data at the gathering, that actually, again, I don't think this will be a huge surprise to you, but it's a hyper-local audience. It's a really local audience. So actually making sure that you have visibility, I think Heather's talked about this a lot, being very visible in your local community. The old print stuff as well as social media, it's great that social media is working so hard for you, but making sure that you are visible in your very local community. And then 40% of people coming under 15 minutes and a further third of people coming under half an hour. So again, just supports that argument. Most people coming by car of some sort. So if you add the hybrid and electric to the petrol diesel, you've got 77% of people coming by car, which I guess, is just how things are in bits of rural Ireland as well, because I know your public transport's not great. So that's probably what we'd expect. When did they book tickets for the event? So this is really the question here is this cause or effect? Okay, are they booking late because we're not telling them early enough, or are they booking late because that's just how they are? So we've got 32% of people booking, nearly a third of people booking within the week of the show. So, and interestingly, if we look at it for first timers, it's not that different. So that suggests to me perhaps that we could be trying to educate our existing audiences into booking a little bit earlier, although it's difficult, because there isn't that much difference. It isn't that the first timers, you know, are on the list and that's why they're booking late. Even the people who are on the list are booking late. And then if we look at people with children at home, are more likely to have planned in advance. So they're more likely to have booked in advance. So that's quite an interesting finding, because they probably need it in the diary either to get babysitters or to, if they're coming as a social event, you know, getting other members of the family organised so that everybody's sorted. And then booking time. So for the people who were booking late, we asked them a supplementary question. So what are the reasons that you didn't book further in advance? And the first one being, I didn't know if I would be available. So we're wondering, like, if we could take away, and I know a lot of you do this, but don't necessarily shout about it. A lot of you do offer either exchanges. I wouldn't recommend refunds, but exchange to credit would be my recommendation. That if you say to people, you can book, there's no risk, because if you can't come up to X days before or whatever you decide it is, if you decide you can't come, you can exchange those tickets for credit on your account, and then you can use that for something else in the future. Because then I didn't know if I would be available and I just didn't get round to it, those barriers could be taken away for them, because there's no reason to wait to see if you get round to it, just book, there's no risk. Some people saying I tend not to book tickets more than a week before the event. You're not going to do a lot about that, but again, if you could make it less risky for them to book in advance, maybe they would. So yeah, so that's quite interesting. And then differences here between first timers and all responses. We're definitely going to dig into this other 22% of first timers saying it was another reason entirely. So we definitely need to know what that is. But similar patterns, as you can see. And with people with children at home, slightly more likely to say I just didn't get around to it. So that plays into the sort of busyness of family life. But still very, very high on I didn't know if I would be available. Okay, Ellie.
Yeah, so the third part of total audience model is attitude. So what do audiences think of your cultural venues and what kind of experience have they had? So really positively, arts attenders think really highly of your venues. The benchmark promoter score, which asks audiences if they would recommend your organisation and gives us a score from -100 to 100, is really high at 70. And this is really close to the UK benchmark. And we can see first timers are less likely to be advocates here at 58%. So the question here is, how easy are we making it for people to recommend your venue and get people to come with them? So how can they share that love of the venue that they have with those around you? How can we make that an easier process? Oops, sorry. Yeah, something about the NPS score is just that it's quite a brutal measure, really, because it only gives you the score of people that score you 9 or 10 out of 10. So that's quite important to remember here. So respondents were asked to rate different areas of their visit from very poor to excellent. Ease of access is viewed very highly at 91%, saying good or excellent. And then we have toilets rated at 90, then seating, bar, and then we have On this catering and food option, we have 3/4 of people saying that they did not use catering or food facilities. That was 77% of all respondents said not applicable to that one. So we've got 63% of those remaining people saying that it was good or excellent. So that's important to remember here. And we've split out those who told us that they identify as deaf or disabled or have a long-term health condition. We've split out those to take a closer look at what they said about ease of access that they experienced at their visit. And 82% rated ease of access good or excellent. So that is slightly less than we showed you in the previous slide from all respondents. When asked about the rate of value for money of different aspects of the experience, tickets ranked most highly on this, which is what we also see in the UK benchmark. So audiences rated food and drinks lower value for money. And we think there's perhaps a question here of how you can package up an offer to show audiences that they are getting something a bit different at your venue, rather than picking up a drink or snack on the way from the shop. We saw from some research we did in the UK about sustainability that audiences respond well to and are willing to pay more for locally sourced products. So that is a slightly different idea that you could add in to sort of boost the experience and make it a bit more difficult to compare, to make a direct price comparison. If they are more willing to pay for that locally sourced product at your venue. And a bit of good news here is that your audiences think your staff are really good. So 74% said that they were excellent and 22% said good. So that is great news. So I'll hand over back to Katie to talk about impact.
Thank you. So this impact data is really the sort of stuff that hopefully you can use in some of your advocacy to your board, to your stakeholders and things like that. So first of all, what are people getting out of the artistic experience? And what's interesting here, and again, we saw this when we looked at the partial data halfway through the year at the gathering, is that these are the three things that people are taking from their experience: sharing it with other people, being really immersed in it, so not noticing the time passing because they're so absorbed in what they're seeing, and coming out feeling lively and enthusiastic. So they're really high scores for those. So I think our provocation really to you is, how are you communicating those things as part of the experience? How are you communicating not just here's a show and it's on and here's the story and here's who's in it, but this is how you're going to feel, this is what it's going to deliver for you. I know it's difficult to do that, but sometimes through imagery of just people smiling and having fun and laughing with each other in your venue brochure on your website, as well as obviously the show images and things like that. Organisational impact. So these are questions that we ask people to say how much they agree with a bunch of statements about your organisation. And I don't know why that says 95 at the bottom, Ellie, because that should be 53. Anyway, there's something gone wrong with that. But at the top, the most important thing that they're saying is that you're important to the local community. 87% of people agree or strongly agree that you're important to the local community. 3/4 saying they feel welcome and included, leading the way for culture, open to those with access needs. So we need to revise these percentages before we send that out because they're not quite right on the right-hand side. But the one that really sticks out is demonstrating a clear commitment to environmental responsibility. And I know that's something that the Performing Arts Forum is working on with the Theatre Green Book now for Ireland, which is really exciting. So hopefully that's something that if we track this year by year, we can start to see that increase. If it's any consolation, that is also the lowest on the UK benchmark as well. So that's all the data that we're going to show you today, but the plans for the Audience Insight project going forward if you have been part of this and you are part of this, your surveys will simply roll on. And if you've got the automated link set up, they will keep going out and we will keep gathering that data for you. So that's fantastic. We will send you a new viewing link for 2025 so that you can look at your results for 2025. And we will continue to aggregate that data over 2025. And this time next year, we'll be sitting here doing the same thing again with a whole new bunch of data. And at that point, we'll be able to tell you what's changed between 2024 and 2025, because this is the first year that we've done a complete year. So that's very exciting. So if you are not using the survey and you would like to, it is free. You just need to let us know and sign up. I'm just going to ask Ellie if she could put the link in the
Yeah, I've just got
chat.
the link and I'm posting it in the chat now.
So if you want to sign up, or you've signed up previously and you haven't managed to get it sent out, then please talk to us, be in touch with us. We can get you going. It's a really good time of year to do it because you've got the whole of 2025 before you to do that. So if you're not signed up, particularly interested in festivals, because we've only got 2 festivals in there, and if we had more, we would be able to create a venue benchmark and a festivals benchmark, which I think might be actually more useful, particularly to those festivals. So please do sign up if you're not part of it. There are resources available from TicketSolve to help you set up the automation so that what you just set it up once and it automatically gets sent out to last night's bookers without you lifting a finger. So you can talk to TicketSolve support if you're on TicketSolve and you want to do that. If you're on different systems, we've also got the ability to do that with Spectrix, Testura, Tixley, pretty much any of the other systems. So if you're on a system that I haven't mentioned and you want to automate it, then again, talk to us and we can try and help you with that. The other thing that's happening, obviously, we're going to put Heather's video on in a minute to tell you about the box office data that she needs to capture. But if you remember, we also have an annual survey which we would like you to send out in February, which asks a whole bunch of other questions to audiences, and you send it out to all the people that came to things in 2024 that you have permission to send it. It's just a one-off survey. So if you haven't taken part in the post-show surveys, you can still take part in that. And if you are doing the post-show surveys, there's a good reason to do this as well, because there's a whole bunch of other more qualitative research. So that is going out, that needs to go out in February. And then the other thing that came out of the Arts Centres meeting, I think last week or the week before, was organisations that want to try this out with non-ticketed events, that want the ability to be able to capture responses from people, maybe on iPads or tablets. They can wander around or hand the tablets to people and ask them to fill it in. So we're looking for 3 volunteer organisations who would like to do that, and we can pick that up again at the Arts Centre meeting next week or the week after. But if it's something that you would like to try and you would like to do, then we're very keen to make that happen. So your next steps then, sign up if you're not part of it, be part of the annual audience overview survey, and email us if you've got any questions with any of that. So I'm going to stop sharing there and see if anyone has any specific questions about the research or anything else before we move on to Heather.
There's just one question in the chat there. I can read it out for you if that's easiest, but it's, is there any crossover between this project and the Arts Council's impact measurement project, as it's a lot of surveys to send to an audience for a festival if they take part in both?
Oh, I don't know anything about the Arts Council's impact project, because this was supposed to give you all the data that you need to demonstrate impact. Can anybody jump on and tell us a bit more about that?
While that's loading, there was also a question to me directly. I think it was about the audience survey links that will be sent. They are bespoke, aren't they? So you'll be sending a different link to each person personally, is that right?
No, it's each venue has their own link. So you can't just nick somebody else's from another venue, because otherwise all your responses will go into their pot. So and they will be looking at your results. So you need to contact us and we give you a link that is for your venue, and you send that out to your audiences, the same link to all your audiences after the show. And that enables us then to create a view that you can see just your data for your audiences.
Cool. So it'd be a matter of emailing either Ellie or you for that link.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just filling in the form and we can get
Oh,
that.
yeah.
sorted.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who knows about the Arts Council thing? Jennifer?
I can talk to it just really briefly. I think it came in before my time. I started in Fringe Festival last February, but it's an initiative to basically teach arts organizations how to collect data, use it properly, and basically it's very similar to what you guys are doing. So that's why I was wondering if there was any crossover there.
Okay.
They essentially they've given us, worked with us to come up with a survey that we'll send out like the day after the festival ends to our entire audience. Now, some of the questions, having seen what you guys have presented, are similar-ish, like impact on community and people's lives. But I just wonder if there's any.
Is it just festivals or is it everyone?
That I'm actually not sure of.
Okay. Is there anyone on the call from the Arts Council? No. Okay. I will ask Irma and Heather because they have the contact at the Arts Council to follow up with Arts Council, because Arts Council are aware we are doing this. They were at the gathering last year. We've been doing this for over a year, and it would make a lot more sense for everybody to use the same question set and
the
build
same
data
like
together.
joined up matrix, I guess,
Yeah.
because otherwise you have like slightly differently phrased questions that lead to
Sigh.
chat.
Yeah, we'll definitely pick that up.
For anyone who, speaking of crossover, there may be people here who are part of the Arts Centre's working group, and we are having our next meeting on the 22nd of January, and I could definitely add that to the agenda because I think that's something worth looking at within the working group. So thank you for bringing it up.
Great. So Robbie's asking, would the survey for all 2024 be available to new organisations? Yes. So if you haven't done 2024, the post-show survey, you can do the audience overview and send it to all your bookers for last year. That's absolutely fine. And if you also want to sign up for the post-show survey for 2025, then it would be great to have you on both. The data is available to the organisations. So with both the audience overview survey and the audience experience post-show survey, we give you a link to see your data in real time, actually. So you can see, as the responses come in, you can see your own organisational data. But then we also produce the benchmark report so you can contextualise it against the whole data set. Any other questions? Anyone have any tips to drive survey conversions? We struggle to get many responses. Okay, so our tips on that, but it'd be interesting to hear from those who are managing to get lots of responses. You can send it out to everybody, whether they've opted into marketing or not, because it's checking that you have delivered the contract, you can do it under the legal basis performance of a contract, which means that you can send it to everybody who booked. They don't have to have opted into marketing to receive the survey, because all you're doing basically is asking for their feedback. So that would certainly give you a bigger data pool to go after. Second tip is to automate it, set it up with the automated link so that it just churns away and goes out after every single performance automatically. And you'll be amazed at how quickly those responses rack up, because we're actually looking for a sample across the whole year. It doesn't matter if you only get 3 responses for one show, because actually over the whole year, some venues have got 1,500 responses, and I think all 3 of those venues are on an automated link. So that's how they're managing to do it. Any other tips anybody else wants to share for how they're getting responses? I mean, we can give you QR codes if you think people would scan those. We can give you links to use on iPads, which is the thing we'd quite like to test out. So you could have people standing in the foyer, grabbing people on the way out, saying, would you fill in this survey? All of that is possible if you want to give it a go. Anyone else got any top tips? I don't think so. So yeah, I really wouldn't worry about getting lots and lots of responses per show, as long as you get more than about 300 across the whole year, you've got a really good sample. Doesn't have to be thousands. And automating it's the best way to do that. Cool. Right, so shall we move on to, oh, there's one more, hang on, what's that? Good, okay. Shall we move on to Heather talking about the box office data collection? Should we do that next?
Yep, so I'm just going to pop her up here. Hopefully the sound is okay for everyone. If we could just kind of make sure everyone can hear, maybe just do a wave or something if you can hear okay.
Hello. I'm so sorry not to be with you today. I really wanted to come and talk about my bit of the Audience Insights project. Katie has told you all about the results of the 2024 Indigo Share project, which answered your who and your why questions about your audience. My bit's based on box office data. Important stuff. And that was brought home to me very strongly at last year's gathering. So there we were in an audience consisting of everybody from the sector, including stakeholders and funders and many of you. And the keynote speakers were speculating that there had been a drop in the amount of activity, the amount of events that were available in lots of organisations, a reduction indeed in the amount that had been funded. And it was so satisfying to be able to prove to them through the evidence that actually they were right. There had been a really significant drop in the number of events and a consequential drop in the number of tickets put on sale. And that there had been, as a result, a matching drop in the number of tickets sold. So it's reports like this that are going to help you answer a whole load of questions about what you do. We've just heard about the how are we doing questions. You know, that was a great example that we had at the gathering. And we can rely on these answers because it's a huge project. So we had 40 organisations participating last year. And what we were analysing was 1.1 million tickets that had been bought by 338,000 unique ticket buyers. That is a heck of a sample. I mean, just like Katie's element of the project, that 15,000 survey responses is really extraordinary. So what else can it tell you? Well, it can answer questions like, could we earn more from ticket sales? Could we keep more customers year on year? Could we get them to buy more often? Could we reach more new audiences? And usually the data tells us that we're really, really good at getting new audiences. This year, we're also going to look at the issues that Katie has just shown you, that possible issue around late booking, and also how we might go about activating referrals and selling the experience. Really strong signals from those surveys that that's what we need to do. And to do that, we do. So we need the evidence to show whether we could possibly get them to book earlier, or could we get more of them to consent to getting marketing communications. So it would be brilliant if more than 40 organisations could participate. I mean, that is most of the sector, but there are some people who don't join in. It would be great if you did. What you need to look out for is an email on Monday or Tuesday of next week. And that will take you to give you a link to the Performing Arts Forum website, where you'll find things like this. So there's a data specification that tells people what kind of data you need to get out of your system, and precisely says what exactly that data needs to be. But also, if you have a ticket solved system, which is a lot of you, there's a step-by-step set of instructions, including diagrams, that shows you exactly how to get that data out. And I was really pleased because somebody last year told me that they were expecting it to be really, really difficult, and were surprised that they could do it in 20 minutes and it was really easy. So either look out for the email. If you don't get the email, somebody else in your organisation has got it, but you could just go straight to the Performing Arts Forum website and go to the relevant section, and you'll find the links that you can click on and download the information. You'll need either the data specification or the step-by-step instructions, depending on what system you have. And you'll also need a little spreadsheet in which to plug your results when you've done the analysis. I promise you, it's not hard. I hope it's not hard. If it's hard, get hold of me, heather@heathermaitland.co.uk, and I can help you out. So looking forward to getting your data. The deadline is in mid-February, so we're hoping to get you the results in March. But then Katie and I will be putting our heads together and providing a state of the nation report, really what's the actual state of audiences for the performing arts in May. Yeah, so hopefully see you then. Thanks.
Great. So the two bits of work that Heather and Indigo are doing are sort of complementary. They're sort of two sides of the same coin. So the data that Heather needs is like, how many people have been, how many tickets have you sold, what are those trends around that? And the work that we're doing is, what do people think about it? What makes them come? What are the barriers? So the two things fit into that model: profile behavior, attitude and impact, and together give us a really good picture for the whole of Ireland and for you individually as organisations. So both sets of data are available at organisation level, but also at big picture, so we can do our State of the Nation thing in May. So has anyone got any questions about Heather's bit? I probably can't answer them, but I can have a go. Or anything about how it all works and fits together, apart from needing to get the Arts Council in line. Is anybody able to tell us how useful they find this data, or what they're doing with the data that might be helpful to people who perhaps haven't done it yet? Is anyone able to just jump on and say what they're using it for, or if it's all a bit of a waste of time, or what they're doing with it? Anybody there? They're all too shy, Eileen.
That's okay. Well, there'll be time after, and they can contact you by email as well.
Yeah.
And also just to say that I had originally planned this to be from 11 to 12:30, but we are probably not going to take up that much of your time today. So we'll probably be able to finish a little bit early for those that need it.
Cool. Any thoughts, observations, questions, worries, concerns? Oh, we are here, somebody says. Oh, great. Found it helpful for funding applications and also for development pitches. Brilliant. Do you want to say any more about that, Jennifer?
Hi. Yeah, I think it's some of the data is really useful, particularly for like development pitches where, you're going to speak to a corporate and they're like, have no idea, like, oh, it's like, you're an arts festival. Great, that's nice. But it's like, oh, but 83% of people find themselves more connected to their community. And if one of their like social responsibilities is community building, we're able to tap into that with real-time data. So that's been really useful. Because like again, a lot of what we do can seem really ethereal to people or just very like artsy, whereas they're people who are data driven. So in that way, it's been like a nice language like gap bridger.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I guess a lot of corporates also want to know the profile as well of the people that you're getting, like how old are they and what's their income levels and all that kind of stuff. So if you've got that, that's quite handy as well.
Yeah.
Question from Kieran. Can companies that aren't venues access survey using QR codes, iPads to do audience survey at events in different venues? Yes, they can. So get in touch with us, Kieran, and we can sort that out for you. We can set you up with either or both QR codes or iPad links, which you can either use to interview people face to face, or you can just ask them and hand the iPad over to them to fill it in. So whichever works best for you. Robbie, still new to festival and planning on using it as a general way to build strategy. Brilliant. Hopefully with some audience responses in May, we can get more granular for strategy into the future. Fantastic. Great. Well, if you do the audience overview survey and get that out in February, you will start getting that data through in real time. So you will have it, you'll have your data a long way before May. And then what we'll show you in May is the kind of state of the nation for Ireland picture. But the good news is that you'll start getting some data very quickly.
Hi, Katie. Thanks
Hi.
for the presentation, and Eileen and Ellie for all the great work. I have to confess I haven't been involved in this particular survey, but I suppose just having done other surveys and just picking up on Jennifer's point, I think it is really valuable information, for organization wide, because I mean, we're all, any of us working in marketing or comms, we're all trying to figure out who our audiences are. So I think it's really helpful to have, concrete data that you can then share with whether it's members of the team. And actually, Jennifer, that's a really good point in terms of, sponsorship pitches and just having all of that information, but also for boards, because I think a lot of the time, we're kind of surmising or making assumptions, and then to have something concrete is really good. I'm curious because I've done it with another organization where we've done a survey, and in the survey we asked people if they were interested in doing follow-up, more detailed research, and we then did some Zoom focus groups.
Yeah.
Now, they were small, but they were hugely valuable. And I'm just wondering if that is, part of this process at any stage further down the line to maybe do something like that, some focus groups.
Yeah, we'd love to do something like that. I mean, actually, what we do in the UK at the moment is we give everyone the option to join a panel at the end of the survey. And if that was something that you guys were interested in, we could add that in at the end of the survey to join an Ireland-wide panel, which then each of you could use to test things. So in the way it works in the UK is we've got a panel now of about 30,000 culturally engaged people who can be utilised for anything from some creative testing. So you might develop some creatives for your festival and you just want to test them on a few people, make sure that you're communicating, you're getting across what you want to communicate. People are using it for that. People are using it to recruit for focus groups. We're also using it to recruit what we called forced exposure. So we recruit people that live in the vicinity of your venue but haven't been. We send them as first-time attenders, and then we do a focus group or some feedback with them afterwards to go, what was it like as a first timer? And they will often spot things that you won't spot, but also potentially then there's a whole pool of people that could be recruited from to do exactly as you say, to do some more in-depth focus groups. So it's not in our budget for this year to run those focus groups, but we could very easily start building the panel by adding that question on at the end and getting informed consent from people who would like to be part of further research across Ireland, so that we can start building it and then look for some funding to do something with it.
Yeah, I think that would be really, really beneficial. As I said, I think, as you say, there are particular people who answer surveys, but also I think just when you can actually speak to somebody, it's hugely helpful. So yeah, I think that would be fantastic. As I say, I know it's a funding issue, but
Yeah, but if we've got the panel recruited and there's people sitting there willing to take part in further research, then you know,
Easier
it's
sell
a bigger
then.
argument then, isn't it, to
Yeah.
say the recruitment costs are usually the biggest part of any sort of qualitative research like focus groups, whereas if we've got people sitting there ready who want to. And what we found in the UK panel is that, because we're sending them surveys for a whole range of cultural things across the UK, and we've even got people emailing us going, when's the next one? You know, they sort of like haven't had one for a couple of weeks. It's a bit like we have something here called YouGov, which is like an omnibus survey that people get asked on what they think about all kinds of things. You probably have similar things in Ireland. So they like the fact that it's a closed community of cultural attenders and people who like the arts. So we could think about doing something similar. But we need to bottom out this Arts Council thing first.
Yes.
That's what we know.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sinead. Gillian,
Hi.
hiya.
Hi, Katie. So one thing that I've actually used the survey form, apart from like pulling out some quotes that we can kind of put up on social media for, you know, other audiences and that, is actually for staff morale. So sometimes, you know, you hear from a customer when something's gone wrong or there's a complaint or whatever. So I've been pulling out the stuff where customers have said nice things about the building and the staff and the program and stuff like that, and just sent it along to the whole team just to be like, look, people do like us. You know, you can feel good about the job that you're doing and everybody appreciates it. And, you know, we always, it's nice to hear a little bit of praise rather than just hearing from the customers, you know, who have had something go wrong and you're trying to sort something with them. So we're trying to use it for that.
That's brilliant. And actually some of those stats around important to your local community, if you're busy dealing with people's drinks or tickets or people moaning or whatever it is, sometimes it's hard to sort of lift your eyes up, isn't it? And for those stats are amazing. You know, they're incredible, that you're all very much seen as important to your local community. So I think taking a moment to remind your staff and the people who work and volunteer in your organizations of what you're achieving and how important you are is brilliant.
And I think, like, as humans as well, we tend to focus on that one horrible comment and you forget about the 9,900 of comments that are really lovely. So I've been trying to be a little bit more positive on that. So
put it in some context.
Yeah,
that's really good. Thank you. That's really powerful. And do you actually share the graphs and things with them, or do you just pull out the odd stat and things?
I've just been pulling out the comments. I haven't shared the graphs. Like, it's something that I probably will do a little bit more on this year, just kind of developing my team and that. But no, I've just been pulling out kind of really nice comments and just sending them along to people and just say, look, this is what people have had to say lately. So
that's brilliant. A nice thing to do is, if you've got all this data at your fingertips, because with the click of a button you can look at your results. What I used to do is just go to my team meetings, marketing team or the senior leadership team, and I would take one stat each meeting to tell them, rather than showing them a big PowerPoint of all the graphs and everything and they'd all zone out like I've just done today. I would just drip feed them with good news, going, did you know our first timers, that our social media is really working for our first timers at the moment, or whatever it is, and just drip feeding, and it sort of gives that air of confidence in the marketing team as well, that they actually know what they're doing.
Maybe we should try and do that as well, because trying to just offload all the information in one fell swoop, it can be challenging, but a little bit at a time. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts? How could we make it easier for you? Is there anything we could do to make it easier for you? Nah, it's all perfect. Great. Okay. Good. Well, I think, Eileen, we've covered everything. I think we can let everybody go for their early lunch. But obviously you've got our email address at Indigo, info@indigo-ltdlimited.com. So please let us know if you want to take part and you're not, or you've got any questions or any problems. Me and Ellie can get them sorted out. We will follow up on that Arts Council issue, won't we, Eileen?
Yes. And anyone who joined the meeting a little later today, the recording will be up on the website, and I'm just going to link in the chat now where that recording is going to be. That might be useful for anyone who was here as well, just so that they can send it to any team members. So
And
it
the
will be
slides are
uploaded now.
available as well.
Yeah, the slides will be on the same page a little bit later today.
Great. Well, thank you so many of you for coming and giving up your very precious time, and I hope it's been worth it for you. Great. Okay. Should we say goodbye then? Bye-bye, everybody. See you soon.
Everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Katie and Ellie, do you want to hang on at the end, or are you okay?
I'll hang on. I think Ellie has to go, but I'll hang on for a
Oh,
minute.
yeah.
That's okay.
Perfect. Just going to stop recording now.